What's going on, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy. There's so much to speak about in today's video. This is a Chelsea news video, but it's also a preview of what is a terrifying fixture of Chelsea going away to Man City at the Etihad. Loads of news is popping off, man. Osimhen to PSG, the Todd Boehly shouting at Sterling coming up, Chelsea making more hires as well. There's really loads and loads of stuff to speak about, and I want to dedicate a decent amount of time to Chelsea versus Man City. Just take a second to listen to this. Chelsea, in the last 4 visits to the Etihad, have lost every single one and not scored a single goal. And of course, I believe, haven't they won 11 or 12 games in a row, Man City? Tough indeed. So we're going to talk about how we can navigate that fixture. Of course, we beat them 4-4 in the reverse fixture at Stamford Bridge. Could it be done? We'll get into it today. I want to thank you for joining me. I'm in my living room. I've got a really bad back, so I have to sit in the chair. I'm not in the studio today. We will return to the studio, of course, before long. But I want to thank you for joining me in the meantime. Please do consider subscribing. If you want to support the content, you're more than welcome to. Thank you for becoming part of the OG GOAT gang. And speaking of, I got updated lenses in the original OG Football Therapy glasses. This is what the motif was, all that, you know, when I used to have the old graphic of my face and the glasses. So yeah, really going throwback Football Therapy. Granted, not bald anymore, there's hair now. But yeah, old frames, man. So we move, let's get into it. Alright, we're going to start on Chelsea news quickly though. Fabrizio Romano reiterating what David Ornstein has already called. We're closing in on another hire. No, not the guy from Brighton, which we spoke about in yesterday's Chelsea news video. We are looking to hire Josh Marsh from Swansea as loans manager. He'll be active for Chelsea, of course, but also Strasbourg, our French Ligue 1 club, and we loan a lot of players to there. Of course, we've got the 2 Brazilian young sensations there, Andre Santos and Angelo Gabriel, playing for Patrick Vieira. So, yeah, I don't know why anyone should have any sort of negative feelings about this, because it is a loans manager. You need a loans manager. No matter what you think about all these hires, Chelsea need a structure. And this is a structure, bro, you know? If he's a good loans manager, then sweet. We've got a good loans manager. Let's move on, all right? All right, Nizar Kinsella is written on the Standard about Victor Osimhen possibly going to Paris Saint-Germain to replace Kylian Mbappe, because, big story, I'm sure you've all seen, Mbappe is leaving PSG at the end of the season. I mean, we know it had to happen eventually. It's just getting boring now. He's going to be 26. Now, the teenage sensation was meant to be destined for Real Madrid, even when he was still a teenager. He's mid-20s, going to go into his mid-late 20s. You know, just crap or get off the pot, you know what I mean? Let's see when his Kinsella is written, because, of course, Victor Osimhen was a primary target for Chelsea as a striker. So Naz writes this: Chelsea are sounding out alternatives to Victor Osimhen, with the striker now firmly in Paris Saint-Germain's sights to replace Kylian Mbappe. So Mbappe, 25, stunned PSG on Thursday night by signalling his intent to leave the club on a free transfer in the summer. Pause. I'm not sure this is stunning PSG, because he's out of contract and it's a really delicate situation, and of course he's been on the cusp of leaving for a while. I think there is... They will save so much money. Okay, well, Naz writes about this, so let's read on quickly. Madrid have lined up a move for the forward who is widely regarded as among the best, or one of the best. PSG attempted to keep Mbappe, but will reinvest the money saved by letting him go to improving the squad. They will save around £200 million a season by not re-signing Mbappe, the highest paid player in European football, baby. That's, yeah, save a lot of money. And look, he is sick. He scores goals. Of course, he scored again in the Champions League. We'll talk about that in a moment. PSG will target Victor Osimhen, who's agreed a contract with Napoli, which has a release clause of around £111 million. Of course, Chelsea were among the clubs interested. Both PSG and Madrid had contingency plans to sign the Nigerian international, depending on Mbappe's fate. Of course, Mbappe going to Real Madrid, they're not going to sign Osimhen. Sporting director Luis Campos is driving PSG's interests. I believe Luis Campos, was he at Lille when he signed him for Lille? I know because he was at Lille before Napoli. I think because Luis Campos was at Monaco, but... Or was it Luis Campos... Anyway, whatever, I'm getting confused here. Whatever. The point is... PSG want Osimhen. Osimhen will command at least 250k a week, which is massive red flags for Chelsea and our new wage structure, which granted, probably Chelsea were going to bend the rules for a big striker signing. Jesus, there's a plane flying over me. But yeah, tricky. And of course, there's stories coming out that Gallagher wants 150k, and Chelsea don't know whether to give him that. And 250k, you want guaranteed goals for 250k. Like an Erling Haaland would guarantee you goals. I don't know Osimhen guarantees goals. He guarantees a good centre-forward player, but is that enough? So Chelsea, of course, are also interested in Ivan Toney from Brentford, and Brighton's Evan Ferguson, which still blows my mind. If we could take... I'm so done with Brighton, and if you want more details on that, check out my previous upload. But if we want to take a striker from Brighton, take Joao Pedro. He's wicked. And prolific. Why Evan Ferguson? Why? The Blues will need to sell some players to balance the books, which we've spoken about here before, if they are to realise their ambitious plans to add a centre-back, a left-back, as well as a top striker. First of all, Osimhen to actually to PSG makes a lot of sense. Mbappe's been playing down the middle of late, which he doesn't like. But you think at Real Madrid... He's not going to play on the left because Vinicius, unless Vinicius wants to become a right winger, then Rodrigo drops out. They're not going to drop Jude Bellingham. They're going to play him as they'll probably continue to play him as the tip of a diamond false nine. I guess maybe have Mbappe on the left. That would be Mbappe's favoured position and he would become the highest earner at Real Madrid. And then Vinicius have to relearn his role as a right winger. Because you can't drop Vinicius. That would be really, really interesting to find out what happens. Unless Mbappe plays on the right and Vinicius on the left. And also Vinicius is the number 7 at Real Madrid. Oh, it's going to upset the apple cart, isn't it? Really interesting. In terms of Victor Osimhen to PSG, yes, it suits. It does suit. He'll cook. He'll score loads of goals out there. He is an elite player. He will be more of a team player. They want to be less of this Galactico superstar Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, Ramos. Do you know what I mean? They want to get rid of all that now. They want to be more of this sort of robust, well-coached team. Osimhen suits that. He will play, instead of Mbappe down the middle, as a proper number 9, a proper striker. It will suit them. Ousmane Dembele will be on the right. Bradley Barcola will be on the left. And you've got a proper front three there. I get it. I get what they want him. They'll pay his wage demands. I don't think it's a done deal by any stretch of the imagination, but it does look like that's the situation. Let me know what you think about Osimhen to PSG, not Chelsea, and let's move on. So we will talk about the game, of course, Man City in just a moment, but I do want to read about this Raheem Sterling stuff that's been going around from Matt Law and then, of course, Ben Jacobs of CBS. But Matt Law of The Telegraph wrote this. Some of those who are present still shudder at the thought of Todd Boehly striding into the Chelsea dressing room and making a beeline for Raheem Sterling. Boehly's intention was to issue a rallying cry of sorts after the home defeat to Brighton. Last April, Sterling was the first of Chelsea's players to be singled out. Okay, I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this in a moment. Other than labelling the team's plight as embarrassing in front of the entire squad, Boehly gave Sterling a personal pep talk that amounted to telling the former Man City star that he's a world-class player and he should be delivering more in terms of performance and leadership. This season, ahead of Saturday's trip to City, it has been some of Chelsea's supporters rather than Boehly who have been offering their assessment of Sterling by jeering him off the pitch. Okay, and quickly to add on this as well, Ben Jacobs went on to say Sterling and Chelsea remain committed to each other. He is appreciated for his mentoring of young players, which he does. Breuer, Noni, Cole Palmer, they all like Sterling, but you don't want to pay a week for a childminder. After the tussle, yeah. So, like, apparently it's no bad blood. But I do want to give my thoughts on this generally. I remember the story coming out of Todd Boehly going into the Chelsea dressing room, and it was a bad look, certainly at halftime, and it was a mistake. Was it full-time or half-time? Anyway, he's been in at half-time before. That was a mistake. Learning on the jobs, English football culture, do's and don'ts. I think they've learned that. Keep your distance. Now, many of you, I kind of rightly would be like, what's he doing going in? Like, it's an embryonic Chelsea project, and you can't just go in and shout at people. You're not going to make things better, and you're this like big, like, D-swinging American businessman who comes here to our country and our sport. But the truth is, if you watch recently on the Overlap podcast, Stick to Football with Gary Neville, with Frank Lampard, great, by the way, great insight from Frank. He used to say, yeah, Abramovich used to come and just lay into the players every now and again as well, but he'd do it through the translator, which was even scarier because he'd be this really angry Russian guy, like screaming, and then so he did that. Owners do that, in all sports, I guess, because Boehly would have had experience with the Dodgers and Lakers and whatever. So it is their right. They've spent billions. They own you, and if you're being, it is your right to do it. Is it helpful? Probably not. But let's not act like this is something that Abramovich didn't do, because he did do it a few times. And it worked, I guess. But again, also you say a different time, innit? That was like the Chelsea golden generation when the angry Mourinho approach worked. So maybe the whole thing, is a different time. But it's tricky with Sterling, because Sterling was offered last summer a ridiculous contract to go to Saudi. That would have made him the third highest paid player in Saudi, which is crazy. I think only just less than Cristiano Ronaldo. And obviously Ronaldo is like best part of a decade older than him. So, and he was like, no, I want to stay at Chelsea. And of course, we all know what happened. I said it in a recent video. He spent ages getting fit, doing all these training regimes to be ready for the season, to dedicate himself to Chelsea, because obviously he had that dressing down. He saw out his nutrition. He remains to be this mentor to the youngsters. And he tries hard and applies himself and is a professional. But he's underperforming, he's frustrated us, and it is what it is. I've said it before, I think Sterling is a better player in a good team. He's really good in a good team, but he's not a guy to make a dysfunctional team better. He's not a plug-and-play Eden Hazard type, or even like a sort of Jack Grealish at Aston Villa. Do you know what I mean? He's not that guy. He's not a wild card. He's a really effective system player, and when the system's not there for you, he's not effective, essentially. But it is interesting to hear that it's good to hear there's no bad blood. But of course, there are stories coming out in the last few days. I think Graham Bailey reported that Chelsea will look to move on from, of course, Thiago Silva, excuse me, hay fever, but also Raheem Sterling in the summer. Yeah. So let me know what you think. Comment down below, and let's move on. So, of course, Chelsea are playing away at Man City. Yeah, we haven't won on the Etihad for many, many moons. I think not since Maurizio Sarri, I believe, which is a long, long time. They are in scintillating form. We are in fluctuating form. We don't score against them. They are on a title charge. KDB's back, the best player in the league. Haaland's back, the best striker in the league. They've got the best manager in the league. It's looking ominous, so I'm worried. And shout out, by the way, to CFC Central on the London is Blue podcast, him and Dan's preview of this game, because he highlighted a couple of things that I'll probably end up citing in my preview here. But yes, of course, we don't have Reece James, and in the reverse fixture, the four all at Stamford Bridge, we had the benefit of a Reece James that's starting that completely locked down Jeremy Doku. By the way, at that point of the season, Doku was like the signing of the season. He was like assisting and scoring in every game, and everyone's like, well, he looks amazing. City have just got much better because of Doku. He just tears everyone apart. That's, of course, until he came down to Stamford Bridge, and Reece James locked him up, and he didn't get any joy past him. He got hooked at like an hour with a yellow card to his name. So we don't have Reece James to completely pocket Doku this time either. And it's going to be super tough. So In terms of injuries, Chukwuemeka's out, Thiago Silva remains out, Sanchez is back. Pochettino spoke about Cassidy, how he'll use him this season. I think he's going to start this game. Jackson is 1 yellow card away in the next 8 games for a 2-match ban. Yeah, but I do think he starts this game. I'm going to show you now my starting lineup and how I would like to play. So here we go. So as you can see, I've done a 4-4-2, but this isn't the 4-4-2 that, remember when we played so well against Arsenal, we played a 4-4-2 with 2 pressing forwards. The 2 forwards in that instance were Gallagher and Cole Palmer. Because Gallagher and Cole Palmer are really effective pressers centrally. I think we need a little bit. We're away at the Etihad. We never win. We never, beat City. I think we need to relinquish possession a little bit. And not play totally negatively, but I feel like we need to play a little bit reactively. Now, again, shout out CFC Central for highlighting this, but both Conor Gallagher and Palmer referenced the tactical change against Crystal Palace towards the end. We were playing a little bit of a 4-4-2, and Conor Gallagher was moving to the left bank of 4. So I would play this 4-4-2 that's not a high press with Gallagher and Palmer up top, but 2 runners up top. So as you can see, Petrovic in goal, Thiago Silva's injured, Colwell's okay, so it'll be Colwell and Disasi. Gusto's confirmed that he's okay, so he and Chilwell will start as natural fullbacks, but because they're not centre-backs and they're fullbacks, I think another bank of 4 will offer them extra protection. Caicedo and Fernandes play better when they're close together. So in fact, we can play a tight midfield like this. And in fact, these spaces here is perfect for Cole Palmer. So this kind of it's kind of like a box, a 4-2-2-2, but these guys are a little bit wider like that. Now, in terms of space, Jackson, left winger, striker, his favoured channel anyway, and run through there. Although Nkunku would prefer probably to play on the left channel, he can play down the middle here. And he'll probably drift a little bit centrally if Palmer comes up. I think this is the perfect formation, in my opinion, to play against the City team. There'll be points where they play a pseudo wing-back system, Man City, in possession. But their wing-backs aren't like a Chilwell or a Gusto wing-back. Their wing-backs are like Doku and Bernardo Silva. Do you know what I mean? They are like diminutive wingers that are just playing such a high-octane offensive system that they just leave everyone forwards. And because there's 3 centre-backs and Rodri, and they generally can defend well. So with 2 forwards like that, you can get into those spaces, those pockets between the centre-backs. And I feel like we can have more control here. Of course, you could play different players here, and you could play the favoured 4-2-3-1, where it's a little bit more like this, isn't it? The 4-2-3-1. It's kind of a 4-3-3 like that, and then you can still play the same players here. I personally would play Jackson as a striker. I know he's played okay as a left winger, and I'd play Nkunku as a left winger because I think we are going to need to play in behind. So therefore, even if we're not doing those central 2, which I would prefer, by the way. Nkunku can be a speedy player to run in behind. Hopefully Walker, although Walker is very, very fast indeed. But we actually technically have 4 players that can play this role. We've got Nkunku, we've got Jackson who can play there, and then of course we've got Sterling and we've got Mudryk. This could even be a game for Mudryk. If we are going to sit back massively, then we could play Mudryk just to run in behind and be like, yo, bro, all bets are off. We are expecting. This is the one game that even Chelsea, especially being in a transitional season, Chelsea can lose and we can try something. So just go and express yourself, Mudryk, and show people that you can still do bets. What an opportunity for him. But despite that, I'm not going to go for that. So again, to reiterate, if I can choose, Caicedo, Fernandes playing very close so they can move around together and play well and tight. So it's kind of like the box centre-backs like that. A little bit of movement from the full-backs. And then, of course, kind of like a box midfield like that. So it really is a 4-2-2-2. And then you sort of just defend deep if you have to. In terms of... Oh, God, I've got it wrong, haven't I? Hold on. So just like this. Or like this. Yeah, like this. So... Oh, I've got it wrong again. Jesus Christ. Right, is everyone in the right place? There we go. Substitutes, like I said, you could see Sterling. Sterling could start. Lest we forget, Sterling did play really well against City in the reverse fixture. And Jackson, he's very much on... where is Sterling? Sterling! Jackson's, because he's on that yellow card. I don't know if it affects us in the final because he's Sterling. We could see Madueke. We've actually got options here, so there's plenty of players that could play, but that's how I'd see it. And if we play like that, I'm going to be really positive here and say we get a 2-2. I think maybe the pressure being off us might suit us in this game with these young players. I'm going to go for a 2-2, and we'll absolutely love that. This, as Liam Twomey of The Athletic said on the Straight Out of Cobham podcast, which I agree with, this game isn't really about the result, because it's the kind of, Chelsea should never write off a fixture. We're Chelsea. But at the moment, if we can write off a fixture, it's Man City, the treble winners away, especially with our record there. So it's more about the performance than the result. But I feel like a good performance, even in a narrow loss, would kind of be a win for us. I know that sounds awful as a Chelsea fan, but we need to develop and be lucid to where we are. But I'm going to say a 2-2, why not? Why not? It should be fun. Let me know what you think, of course. Thank you for joining me. Please do like and subscribe if you want to support the content. You are all welcome to join the fun here on the Goat Gang HQ. All right, friends. Pray for us. See you soon.